Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bearstow's Barnstormers. On this episode, I am focusing on the build-up of the fuselage. There are some things to note about Lonesome Lola as parts are selected for this build. Based on my research, the aircraft was not equipped with the H2S radar. This would be the domed structure on the bottom of the aircraft, behind the bomb bay, and below the mid-upper gun turret. It would make sense that this radar would not have been present for this mission if the mid-upper turret is also being removed just to extend the range of the aircraft. HKM does include these parts for the H2S, but thankfully they are remaining in the box. I am thankful for this, as I don't like the way the H2S radar interrupts the flow of the fuselage. On screen, you can see the buildup of the Bombardier's support. In the Lancaster, the Bombardier lays prone on a set of cushions, with the lower half of his body being supported by cushions on the forward parachute door, and the upper half of his body is supported on this raised support on the forward section just after the Bombardier's blister. I personally cannot imagine what it must be like to sit on top of an emergency escape door for an entire bombing mission, especially when the aircraft is flying through flak. You are a very small piece of structure from falling through the bottom of the aircraft, and it's just held by latches. Immediately aft and to the side of the parachute door I just installed, you will see a small circular window. This is the photography window. The Lancasters had cameras on board to allow photographic analysis of the bombing mission's effects upon their return to base. Of course, this means that directly above this window there is a camera. From the limited number of pictures of Lonesome Lola, the Bombardier's blister was the large version equipped with the automatic gun laying turret, codenamed Village Inn, sensors. Many aircraft had these nose blisters even if they did not have the AGLT fully installed. Based on my research, Lola did not have the full system, as the tail gun transmitter is not present. While not shown being installed in this episode, we will see the Bombardier blister soon enough. But this is yet another choice I had to make from the kit parts, specifically for Lonesome Lola. HKM does include both blisters, the large and the small version. Applying primer to the seam between the fuselage halves is the best way to determine if you have achieved a smooth joint. The primer gives you a better color contrast to see any divots, interruptions, or high spots along the joint and any putty you have had to use during the assembly of the two halves. Obviously here I was very careful not to spray any primer into that beautiful cockpit or any of the other upper fuselage openings on the model kit. I will also warn you, if you are using a tissue like I did to stuff into one of the fuselage openings, be very careful you don't get any lint from the tissue into the paint. That was one of the issues I had with my Memphis Belle build, and I have learned my lesson. So a good material is like a sponge material if you have some laying around. If you don't and are looking to get some, I highly recommend the sponges they now use for pet water fountains, so like cat water fountains. You can get that sponge material very cheaply, and it works, and that's actually what I use, and it's easily cut so you can get a smaller section of it off to use in smaller openings. Previously, I mentioned the scale of the Lancaster's bomb bay. The entire area you see me painting here is the bomb bay. This is what made it possible to carry the Tall Boy featured later in this build, the Grand Slam, which is basically just a roided out Tall Boy, and even put the Lancaster in contention to deliver the atomic bombs to Japan. By arranging the bomb bay horizontally like this, instead of vertically like the Flying Fortress, the Avro Lancaster could do nearly any mission that could be thought up. On the belly of the Lancaster, and shown here on screen, there are 3 identification lights. These lights become particularly important for an aircraft performing night missions, which is what the Lancaster did for most of World War II. The identification lights allow a friend or foe determination from other aircraft, particularly night fighters, so that they don't attack the wrong aircraft. All you are seeing at night is black on black, so a colored indication of what aircraft you are looking at is a good thing. The Lancaster also has some blue identification lights at the aft sides of the wingtips. Those on this aircraft are in fact powered by LEDs that you will see later. These, however, would never be turned on the ground, and so I did not choose to power these and put actual LED bulbs in them. Additionally, looking at the kit, it would be particularly difficult to do. It's possible, but it would be difficult. So if any of you are building this kit or doing any electrification and you feel like going for the challenge, let me know. I would love to see a picture of that when it's done. Finally, now we can move into the enormous empennage structure of the Avro Lancaster. I think this is one of those iconic features of the aircraft that just give it the looks that it has. Just that enormous empennage, and I just think it's visually very cool for the airplane. The thing I didn't realize was how much additional structure goes into the empennage. There's all these counterbalance weights to offset the weight of the control surface itself. That way it reduces the strain on the pilot to actually pull the control column and deflect the flight control surface. So, of course, you have to be careful with this model kit once these are attached, as these are a grade A I'm going to break off anytime you move me problem. So make sure you have a lot of space for the aircraft on the bench if you're building one of these, and just be very mindful that those surfaces and features are there. I only broke one through the entire remaining duration of the build series, so they got a lot better treatment than the 2 B-17s I previously built. As far as fitment of the empennage, everything went together very well. There was very limited leading edge and trailing edge seams that had to be addressed, so that was an excellent thing. And the vertical stabilizer connected in with the horizontal stabilizer perfectly. And it's a very stiff, very tight joint, so it doesn't have a whole lot of play and you can get everything lined up very nicely. And then finally, the entire stabilizer assembly connects to the aircraft in the same way. It's a nice, stiff, close tolerant joint, so it does slip in relatively easily, particularly with the deficit of glue, and it does align itself very well. So there's no trying to prop it up to get the correct alignment, no taping it up to get the correct alignment. It just gets aligned and it sits there. So hats off to HKM here. They did a very good job with that fitment, and I very much appreciated it because I was dreading putting the empennage together for that exact reason. Thank you all for watching. If you've made it this far, feel free to drop a like or subscribe if you wish. If you're building one of these, throw a comment down below and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the build of your kit. I'll see you all in the next one.